In this video, we're going now to start our simple linear regression analysis. So from the previous video, we have our data here. And the first step in when we do simple linear regression analysis is we would like to graph the data into what we call a scatter plot. So what is a scatter plot? A scatter plot is a graph that has, well, your x and y axis wherein the x is our independent variable, and our y-axis is our dependent variable. So for example, if we would have 1255, and let's say if this is 0, this is 10, this is 20, let's say 12 is here, then this is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, let's say 55 is here, then 12, 55, this data would be at this point here, at 12, 12 here, 55 here, so there you go. So this point will represent that relationship that exists between the dexterity test score of employee A, which has a test score of 12, and has produced 55 units. So that one. And we would like to graph all of these in a scatter plot so that we would see if there is a trend or a pattern that will emerge from the points that we would have. Because if there is, probably this would lead to a relationship that actually exists between the two data. So that's why we would like to do a scatter plot. So how do we do a scatter plot in Excel? Let me just clean that up. So now, how do we make a scatter plot in Excel? So let's go to our ribbon part. We now go to insert. There you go, insert. There you go, insert. Then we would go to this one, our charts. But so for our charts, we would like to select this one, the scatter, and then we would have the following. And we will be selecting the first one. However, before we do that, we have to make sure that we have also selected our data. So let's just zoom back in and here. So first, we need to select our data, even with our labels here. So after we select that, we will now go back to this one. Then we select the first one here. Then, here you go. We would now see our scatter plot here. So, here, our data, we would have the units produced in 1 hour in our y-axis and our dexterity test scores in our x-axis. So, I want to adjust now my x and y axis because I can see, my data only is the lowest is 11, my highest is 17, so probably I would like to shorten this axis. So to adjust anything here on our chart, we can actually select the following. So we can have our chart filters, there you go, or you can have add something, add the axis or the axis titles. You can add that one here. You can also remove. If you don't want your chart, you can also have data labels or error bars or grid lines or trend line. So there. So for me to adjust this one, let me select these, right click, right click, and then we format our axis. So we can see here, I want the minimum since our smallest number is 11, maybe we can make our minimum at 10. So there. So our axis change. And if you remember in our misleading graphs, you can actually do that. But here, I would like not to cover anymore the blank. So I would just have these points. And there we go. I think that's enough for me. If you want to change anything else such as color, you can explore things here. So now that I have that, here is now my scatter plot. Now, in this scatter plot, do I see a trend? Do I see a pattern? What do you see? One pattern that you can actually see here is that it's going from lower portion, going to the right, it increases a little bit. So that's one pattern that we can have. Maybe we can have that down. That this is increasing that way. Now, with that general pattern, as you can see also, when I drew that line, it's as if we can connect some of the points in a line. Well, this one is a little bit far, but if this is actually insignificant, then the line can be a good pattern for this data set, whatever this line is. So that's another pattern that we would like to see. And those patterns are the ones that we will analyze more as we go through our simple linear regression analysis. But for now, what we have here is our scatter plot, the first step in a simple linear regression analysis.